The condemned vessel, the War Council chambers stretched wide beneath a dome of projected stars. Representatives from 12 alien empires sat in a circular formation, their forms varied and strange. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others possessed multiple limbs that moved with unsettling grace. A few were beings of pure energy contained within crystalline shells. But today, despite their differences, they were united in a single emotion. Amusement dot at the center of the chamber, a holographic projection rotated slowly. It showed a human warship suspended in the darkness of space. The vessel looked ancient by galactic standards. Its hull bore the scars of countless battles, metal plates welded over breaches, entire sections clearly rebuilt from salvaged parts. Compared to the sleek warships of the assembled empires, it appeared primitive and fragile. Commander Vexlar of the Vorten hierarchy leaned forward, his 6 eyes gleaming with contempt. His voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. This is what remains of humanity's once feared fleet? A single vessel held together by desperation and foolish pride? Laughter rippled through the council. High Magistrate Kellyan, whose crystalline body pulsed with colors that reflected her emotions, added her own observation. Our intelligence reports indicate this ship, the UEC Defiant, was scheduled for decommissioning 3 cycles ago. It should be scrap metal floating in some forgotten shipyard. Instead, the humans send it to face our combined armada. They insult us with their surrender. A Zephyrini diplomat, her form hovering above her seat in a cloud of luminescent particles, spoke with barely concealed glee. Perhaps they believe this gesture will earn them mercy. How quaint. How utterly human. More laughter followed. The gathered representatives had spent years watching humanity's colonial expansion grind to a halt. They had witnessed human worlds fall one by one to the superior firepower of the Alliance. Now only Earth remained, and this pathetic vessel was all that stood between the Alliance and total victory. Admiral Kroon of the Sarkelian Empire rose to his full height, his armored exoskeleton clicking with each movement. I propose we do not destroy this ship quickly. Let us dissect it slowly, piece by piece, while broadcasting the event across all human frequencies. Let them watch their final hope die in exquisite detail. Let their despair be complete. The council erupted in approval. Strategies were discussed with cruel enthusiasm. Some suggested capturing the crew alive for public trials. Others wanted to claim the wreckage as a trophy. Throughout it all, not a single voice suggested caution. Not one commander considered the possibility that humanity might have a plan. Far from the council chamber, in the cold silence of the Kronos Nebula, the UEC Defiant drifted through clouds of ionized gas. The nebula's purple and blue hues cast strange shadows across the ship's damaged hull. To any observer, the vessel appeared dead, its running lights dim, its weapons ports dark and silent. But inside, the ship hummed with quiet activity. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display before her. She was a woman who carried the weight of extinction on her shoulders, yet her posture remained straight, her expression calm. Around her, the bridge crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Marcus Webb sat at the weapons console, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. He was young for his position, barely 30, but his hands moved with the confidence of someone who had spent his entire adult life preparing for this moment. Beside him, Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka monitored readouts from the ship's core systems, her lips moving silently as she performed calculations in her head. Status report. Captain Chun's voice cut through the quiet hum of activity.web, responded without looking up from his console. All weapon systems are nominal, Captain. The packages are ready for deployment on your command. Tanaka added, core temperature is stable at 0.7% above baseline. We can maintain current power levels for approximately 6 hours before we need to cycle down. Navigation. Chun turned to Ensign David Okonkwo, whose hands hovered over the helm controls. We are positioned exactly where we need to be, Captain. The nebula's electromagnetic interference is masking our true energy signature. To their sensors, we read as exactly what they expect. A dying ship with failing power systems. Chun nodded slowly, her gaze returning to the tactical display. Red icons were appearing at the edge of the screen, dozens of them, and hundreds. The alien Armada was arriving right on schedule. She had counted on their arrogance, their certainty that humanity was beaten. She had gambled everything on their pride, blinding them to the truth. Captain, Webb said quietly, permission to speak freely? Granted. They outnumber us 473 to 1. Even with the upgrades, even with the element of surprise. The odds are. He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Chun turned to face her weapons officer, and for the first time, a slight smile touched her lips. Lieutenant, humanity has faced extinction a dozen times in our history. We have stared into the abyss more often than any species in this galaxy. Every time, we have done the impossible. Not because we are stronger or faster or more advanced than our enemies, but because we refuse to accept defeat as inevitable. Today will be no different. She looked around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each crew member in turn. Every person on this ship volunteered for this mission knowing we might not return. You all read the same reports I did. You know what our scientists built in the years after the war turned against us. You know what this ship truly carries. Tanaka spoke up, her voice steady despite the fear Chun could see in her eyes. The Cascade Protocol. Quantum displacement drives. Adaptive neural weapon systems. Technology that shouldn't exist according to every known law of physics. Technology, Chun continued, that was deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable to mass produce. Technology that every human military committee voted to keep classified and unused. Until now. The red icons on the tactical display continued to multiply. The alien Armada was taking position around the nebula, forming a sphere that enclosed the Defiant from every angle. Escape would be impossible. Surrender would be futile. The aliens believed they had already won. Sean's communicator chimed. A voice filled with synthetic arrogance spoke in flawless human English. Human vessel Defiant, this is Fleet Commander Wexler of the Vorten hierarchy. You are completely surrounded by a force that outnumbers you nearly 500 to 1. Your ship is obsolete. Your weapons are insufficient. Your cause is hopeless. I offer you this one chance to surrender with honor. Respond within 60 seconds, or we will open fire. The bridge fell silent. Every eye turned to Captain Chun. She stood motionless for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she reached out and tapped a single button on her command console, muting the communication channel. Asterisk 60 seconds, she said softly. How generous of them. Captain, they are charging weapons, Okonkwo reported, tension creeping into his voice. Multiple targeting locks acquiring us from all vectors. Chun walked slowly to the center of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. She could feel the ship around her, could sense the power contained within its hull, power that the galaxy had never witnessed. She thought of Earth, of the billions of people watching and waiting, of the children who deserved a future free from conquest and slavery. 50 seconds remaining, Webb announced. Chun's smile widened. Mr. Webb, prepare to initiate the Cascade Protocol on my mark. Webb's fingers hovered over his console. Ready. Cascade Protocol ready, Captain. Chief Tanaka, bring all core systems to full power. I want every reactor running at maximum capacity. Aye, Captain. Bringing cores online now. Throughout the ship, systems that had been dormant roared to life. Energy surged through conduits designed by the brightest minds humanity had ever produced. The Defiant began to glow from within, faint at first, then brighter, like a star being born in the heart of the nebula. 30 seconds. Webb counted down. Asterisk Chun's voice dropped barely above a whisper, but every word carried absolute certainty. Today, the galaxy learns what happens when you back humanity into a corner. Today, they discover that our weakness was a mask. Today, we show them what we truly are. 20 seconds. The alien Armada tightened its formation. Hundreds of capital ships, thousands of fighters, all weapons trained on the single human vessel. In the War Council chamber, the assembled commanders watched with satisfaction, already composing the speeches they would give to celebrate humanity's final defeat. 10 seconds, Captain. Sarah Chun closed her eyes for a brief moment, drew in a deep breath, and opened them again. Her voice, when she spoke, was steel wrapped in ice. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. This is not a suicide mission. This is retribution. She turned to face the main view screen, where the first wave of alien ships was clearly visible against the nebula's glow. Fire when ready, Mr. Webb. Show them what humanity truly fears. The countdown reached 0. In the silence that followed, the Defiant stopped pretending to be weak. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson written in fire and fury, a lesson that would echo through the stars for generations to come. Humanity had been counted out, written off, dismissed as broken and beaten dot. They were about to discover how catastrophically wrong they had been. Asterisk retribution unleashed. The first volley came like a storm of fire, descending from every direction. Thousands of energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic missiles converged on the Defiant's position. The nebula lit up as if a small sun had been born within its clouds. The alien commanders watched their displays with satisfied expressions, already composing victory reports in their minds. Nothing could survive such concentrated firepower. Nothing in the known galaxy possessed shields strong enough to withstand that assault. But the Defiant did not explode. It did not crack apart or burn. Instead, something impossible happened. The ship vanished. For a fraction of a second, the space where the Defiant had been was empty. The alien weapons passed through vacant darkness, their destructive power wasted on nothing. Then, before the alien sensors could register what had occurred, the human ship reappeared 3,000 kilometers away, completely unscathed. Positioned behind the rear formation of the Vorten fleet, on the bridge of the Defiant, the crew felt only a slight tremor as the quantum displacement drive cycled. Captain Chun's voice cut through the moment of stunned silence. Mr. Webb, demonstrate our gratitude for their warm welcome. Webb's fingers moved with practiced precision. Firing solution locked. Cascade protocol initiated. What emerged from the Defiant was not a conventional weapon. From ports along the ship's hull, 12 spheres of contained energy launched into space. Each sphere was roughly the size of a fighter craft, glowing with an otherworldly blue-white light. They moved with purpose, accelerating toward the nearest alien capital ships with unnatural speed. Commander, Dexler watched from his flagship as the strange projectiles approached. His tactical officer's voice trembled with confusion. Commander, those weapons are not reading as conventional missiles or torpedoes. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Composition is unknown. Behavior is unpredictable. Then destroy them, Dexler snarled. All point defense systems, engage those projectiles now. The Vorten ships responded instantly. Automated defense turrets swiveled and fired, filling space with a web of intersecting energy beams. Several struck the approaching spheres directly. But instead of exploding, the spheres absorbed the incoming fire. They grew brighter, larger, feeding on the energy directed at them. The first sphere reached a Vorten battlecruiser. Upon contact with the ship's shields, it didn't detonate in a conventional explosion. Instead, it phased through the shields as if they were not there, embedding itself in the hull. For 2 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the sphere began to replicate. From the original point of impact, tendrils of the same blue-white energy spread across the battlecruiser's surface like living roots. They moved through the ship's systems, following power conduits, wrapping around weapon batteries, infiltrating the reactor core. The Vorten crew watched in horror as their controls died, one system after another, consumed by the spreading energy. What is happening? Vexler roared into his communications array. Report, damn you. The battlecruiser's captain managed one transmission before his ship went dark. It's eating our systems. Every weapon, every engine, every computer. It's converting our own ship's energy against us. Commander, you must warn the others. These weapons learn, they adapt. The transmission ended. The battlecruiser hung in space for a moment, completely dark. Then, with a flash of that same eerie blue-white light, it exploded from within. But this was no ordinary detonation. The energy released cascaded outward in a controlled wave, striking 3 nearby Vorten destroyers. Upon impact, those ships began experiencing the same technological infection. 11 more spheres reached their targets. 11 more alien ships began their transformation from warships to tombs. The cascade effect Tanaka had mentioned was not just a name. It was a promise. Each infected ship became a vector for spreading the technological plague to others nearby. High Magistrate Kellyan's crystalline form pulsed with colors that indicated panic. Impossible. No weapon can bypass quantum shielding. No energy form can propagate through independent systems without a connection vector. This violates fundamental laws. Captain Chun's voice came across all open channels, clear and cold. You are correct, Magistrate. This technology should not exist. According to every physical law you understand, these weapons are impossible. But humanity has never been particularly concerned with what should or should not be possible. We have always specialized in making the impossible happen. The alien Armada began to break formation, ships scrambling to put distance between themselves and infected vessels. But the Defiant was not finished. The ship's quantum displacement drive cycled again, and it reappeared in the heart of the Sarkelian formation. This time, Webb unleashed a different weapon system. From the Defiant's main cannon array, a single beam of coherent energy lanced out. But this was not a typical energy weapon. As it traveled, the beam split, branched, and rebranched, forming a tree of destruction that struck dozens of targets simultaneously. Each branch carried the full destructive power of the original beam, defying conservation of energy in ways that made alien scientists watching from distant observation posts question their understanding of reality. Admiral Kroon's flagship took a direct hit. His shields held for approximately 3 seconds before the beam adapted, shifted frequency, and punched through as if the shields had never existed. The beam carved through his ship from bow to stern, severing it cleanly in 2 halves. Kroon barely had time to order evacuation before both sections erupted in flames. Throughout the nebula, panic spread faster than the Defiant's weapons. Fleet formations dissolved into chaos as every alien commander suddenly realized they were not fighting a desperate last stand. They were fighting something that had been waiting, planning, and preparing for this exact moment. The human ship they had mocked was not humanity's last gasp of defiance. It was a predator that had lured them into a trap. Chief Tanaka called out from her station. Captain, enemy ships are attempting to retreat. 70% of their fleet is breaking engagement and moving toward jump coordinates. Chun's expression did not change. Mr. Okonkwo pursued course. Do not let them leave this nebula. Today, the galaxy learns that there are consequences for attempting genocide. The Defiant accelerated, its engines burning brighter than any conventional drive system should allow. The quantum displacement drive cycled repeatedly, allowing the single human ship to appear in multiple locations within seconds. Each appearance brought death to alien vessels attempting to flee. A squadron of Zephany fighters tried to make a desperate attack run on the Defiant's engines. Webb barely glanced at them before activating the ship's adaptive point defense system. Thousands of micro-drones deployed from the Defiant's hull, each one a tiny fragment of processing power and weaponry. They moved with swarm intelligence, anticipating the fighters' evasive maneuvers before the pilots could execute them. Within 30 seconds, every Zephany fighter was reduced to debris. Commander Thexler, now commanding from a backup flagship after his previous vessel was destroyed, made one final attempt at reason. His voice, which had been so full of contempt hours before, now carried desperation. "Captain Chun, please. We surrender. The Alliance surrenders. Ceasefire, and we will discuss terms." Chun's response was immediate and without mercy. "You had your chance to discuss terms, Commander. You had your opportunity to leave humanity in peace. Instead, you chose conquest. You chose genocide. You broadcast your intention to dissect my ship slowly while my people watched. Now you experience what it means to face an enemy who will not yield, who will not break, who will not forgive." She nodded to Webb. "Continue firing." The battle, if it could even be called that anymore, continued for another 47 minutes. By the end, of the 473 alien ships that had entered the Kronos Nebula, only 12 escaped. They carried with them tales of horror, stories of a human weapon that adapted and learned, of a ship that moved like a ghost through space, of a captain who showed no mercy to those who had shown none to humanity. When the last enemy vessel jumped away to hyperspace, the Defiant held its position in the center of the nebula. The space around it was filled with debris, wreckage, and the fading energy signatures of destroyed ships. On the bridge, the crew sat in stunned silence, unable to fully process what they had just accomplished. Lieutenant Webb was the first to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "Captain, sensor scans show no remaining enemy contacts within 20 light years. We've won." Chun slowly lowered herself into the captain's chair. The adrenaline that had sustained her through the battle was fading, leaving behind exhaustion and the weight of what they had done. She had just ordered the deaths of hundreds of thousands of sentient beings. The fact that they had intended the same for humanity did not make the burden lighter. "Open a channel to Earth," she said quietly. "All frequencies, maximum broadcast strength." Ensign Okonkwo worked his console. "Channel open, Captain. You're broadcasting to Earth and every listening station within 50 light years." Chun took a deep breath and spoke. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the U.E.S. Defiant. Today, in the Kronos Nebula, humanity has sent a message to the galaxy. We are not broken. We are not defeated. We are not weak. For years, the alien empires believed they could extinguish human civilization because we lacked their numbers, their resources, their advanced fleets. They were wrong." She paused, her eyes distant. "They underestimated what makes humanity dangerous. Not our weapons, though, as you have seen, we can build weapons that defy comprehension when necessity demands it. Not our ships, though this vessel has proven itself against impossible odds. What makes humanity truly dangerous is our refusal to accept extinction. Our ability to adapt, to innovate, to find solutions where none should exist. Our determination to survive, no matter the cost." Her voice hardened. "Let this battle serve as a lesson to any empire that contemplates humanity's destruction. We may appear weak. We may seem vulnerable. But push us far enough, threaten our existence, and you will discover that humanity's greatest weapon has always been humanity itself. We do not seek war. But if war comes to us, we will end it on our terms. She ended the transmission and looked around the bridge at her crew. They were exhausted, traumatized, but alive. They had done what everyone believed was impossible. Mr. Okonkwo set course for Earth, best speed. I think it's time we went home. As the Defiant turned away from the battlefield and engaged its drives, the debris field behind them served as a monument to a simple truth. Throughout human history, countless enemies had made the same mistake. They saw humanity's compassion and mistook it for weakness. They saw humanity's preference for peace and mistook it for inability to wage war. They saw humanity's hope and mistook it for naivety. The wreckage floating in the Kronos Nebula told a different story. It whispered a warning that would spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity was not humanity's greatest enemy. Humanity was everyone's greatest ally or worst nightmare, depending entirely on which path you forced them to walk. The alien empires had forced humanity down the path of war. Now, as survivors returned to their home worlds with tales of the impossible human ship and its merciless captain, a new era began. An era where humanity was no longer seen as prey to be conquered, but as a force to be respected, feared, and never again underestimated. The Defiant disappeared into the stars, carrying its crew home to a planet that could finally breathe freely. Behind them, they left only silence, wreckage, and a legend that would be told for 1,000 years. The legend of the day humanity's weakest ship became the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Asterisk.